Hello, everyone. I'm not sure if we're exactly live yet, but we are living. So I just want to start by thanking everyone who's joining live and everyone who is going to be watching the replay. This is, after all, at 3:30, so some people are still working. And I also want to give gratitude to everyone who has contributed to my soul's growth and evolution, regardless if they were positive or negative influences. Whatever you were to me, I thank you because I wouldn't be here knowing what I know now without you. I'm also grateful for my awareness, all of the different tools that I've collected that make up my heads up display, my metaphysical heads up display, the things that I am able to become aware of, regardless if I'm always aware of them. They are a part of me. And that wisdom was hard fought, as is yours, because wisdom takes something, it costs you something. It's a toll, unlike knowledge, which you can get from a book. But everything that I went through that was what one would objectively consider a hardship from childhood onward really is part of my backstory and is part of my resume of service, as it is for you. Everything you've gone through, every hardship, every tough thing that you made it through. And by the way, your batting average is excellent. You've made it through 100% of every tough thing that you've made it through. 100%. 100%. Pretty amazing. And each one of those things that we go through that are seemingly insurmountable, we surmounted at some point, and then which led us to the new threshold, the new threshold guardian that we face. So I want to say thank you to each influence that is part of my backstory. I am able to more authentically serve those people I'm here to serve because of it. And you are too. You are able to authentically serve those people who are still going through or wherever they are in that piece of psychic real estate that you are able to make it through and can now authentically serve those and help them make it through. But you couldn't do that without having gone through it in the first place. So your dark night of the soul is someone else's silver lining. And that's how I believe is best to hold that information. Now, if you get caught up in the backstory and you don't clock that, then there is a room called victimhood that has very comfortable furniture. And your mind will remind you sometimes your mind will remind you of these moments and it seems oppressive, like it's taunting you. Other times it is comforting you, like, oh, you don't want to go take care of such and such. You don't have to. You had a hard life and you deserve not to grow anymore. You deserve to just be able to stay in this place because of all the shit you went through. There's many different ways that the mind can show up for us. I'm going to go through quite a few in this, but it's not an exhaustive list. Um, if you've already opted in, by the way, to get our free gift, the Awakening Kit, which has the 9 different archetypes that we're working with, it's the ZoCode. You can get it right here if you haven't, and then look for the free gift. After you opt in and you get that, you'll be taken immediately to another page where you're invited to buy something. You can decide if that's something you want. It's really the next level after the archetypes is to dial into which one you are, which is your primary wound, which is your primary archetype that you'll be working with. And these things do stay pretty stable until you've made quite a lot of, I would say, headway. But there may be aspects that you have in common with different archetypes. So this is the material that we're working with at these 11 days plus, or the starting point. And I encourage you to at least get the free Awakening Kit. Just to let you know, if on the sales page for the next thing, there's an assessment that helps you zero in, and it's like a 45-minute sacred process. So if you do that, make sure that when you start the process, you have like 45 minutes of undisturbed time, and you are going to want to be vulnerable for this to really get at the heart of what might be keeping you stuck here between save points. So if you're looking for a new save point on this journey, it will require you to take off a bit of your armor and be vulnerable and be willing to be uncomfortable so that you can be more comfortable. So let's begin. So this is me in a nutshell. I'm mostly mutant. For those of you who are familiar with human design, if you're not familiar with human design, you can get your free chart at the link. It's probably pinned. Raquel will be pinning the link to get your free chart. And I encourage you to do that. It really is the best self-portrait you'll ever see. And it is a huge piece of the puzzle in what we're going to be discussing, but it's not the only piece of the puzzle. It's my favorite insofar as it gives you your way of most easily knowing your right action and your right timing. And it lifts all of your different modalities. I'm sure, we're all experience collectors. And so we've probably, among us, all have differing certifications, attunements, different modality mastery, and each one of those things contributes. The reason I like human design so much is it helps me know which other tool might be most advantageous, when to use it, when not to use it, what might serve the other person that I'm interfacing with, and whatnot. And one thing I want to mention that's not here, and it took me a while to, and I'm still not at any kind of finish line, but I'm a unconscious 54-4. And this is an interesting keynote in human design, which most of the keynotes, most of the descriptions of the different gates and lines have a pretty robust description. Gate 54.4 is simply and only enlightenment and darkenment. That's it. So what that means is what I'm teaching, what I'm saying is also for me. And if I don't get that, if I think there's no part in me in what I'm teaching, or I've reached some particular um, end point, then I'm in darkened. That's in darkenment because I'm not seeing myself in the material. So when I'm working with clients, classes, the people in the class are very special to me because I am giving, but I'm also receiving. I am a student in my own class along with everyone else. So it's a real kind of unique relationship, really, as long as I stay conscious of that. I am not always conscious of that. And when I'm not, I get spanked by life because I'm off in the weeds instead of being in the proper place. So I really want you to know I take this very humbly, this work, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to grow and teach, and it's really this wonderful symbiotic relationship. That said, this is me, mostly a mutant. So for those of you who know human design, wonderful. For those who don't, um, what does that mean? We'll discuss that later. But these are my channels, and I put whether they're conscious. If they're red, they're unconscious. If they're black, they're conscious. They're an aspect of my personality. If it's a mix, it's a mix. Some of it I have conscious access to. Other parts I don't have any access to the way it works and the process, and it's uncomfortable. But at the same time, if it's conscious, I can mess it up. I can get in the way of the message. I can get in the way of the energy, and it doesn't work well. Whereas when it's unconscious, I can't touch it. It's just operating. So just a little bit about me before we proceed. That was that. So I want to start and set the stage with this quote, which is one of my favorites. Hopefully you'll find yourself in it or it'll resonate. There are two kinds of suffering: the suffering that leads to more suffering and the suffering that leads to the end of suffering. If you're not willing to face the second kind of suffering, you will certainly experience the first. So, two kinds of suffering: the first kind, which leads to more suffering, and the second kind that leads to the end of suffering. In the first column, there's the pain of chasing temporary joy. It's the stuff that we do to not have to think about our day. You know, it could be anything. It could be work, sex, drugs, rock and roll, right? Just the things that we don't want to have to look at whatever it is, and we give ourselves permission to not. And our mind is going to just make that so easy. Our mind is going to create conditions that are there to both protect us in the finite way that our mind thinks it's protecting us. And we're going to go into why it's doing that. And in often cases, it's like a dutiful soldier that's been programmed by possibly a wounded 9-year-old, in my case, or earlier, and something in your subconscious which created a strategy, or not to like pop out and just say in general, but in my case, there were strategies that were created to deal with pain and things that I didn't understand. And my subconscious hit save. Something hit save, and that thing is still carrying out the protection of that 9-year-old or earlier. And as an adult, wow, I mean, I've done therapy, I've gone through lots of different changes and modalities and attunements, and can have a professorial relationship with my trauma, knowing exactly why I do the things I do or why I react the way I react. And so I could have a professor's head on top of a 9-year-old's body who is still dysregulated, who will still react when the certain combination of triggers that create some sort of synaptic relationship with my trauma, and then in comes my protector to make sure that I'm safe. And usually it's not adult like. It can come out very uncomfortable, unconscious, like we all do. Anger, injustice, we can feel very justified by whatever happens and then not look any deeper than that. Other than we're justified, that guy was an asshole, she shouldn't have said that, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, all the stuff. But what ends up happening is we make no progress in our soul's journey. We stay stuck, or we make a little progress, and then, um, you know, maybe it's a relationship that ends, and then we end up finding someone who is basically going to trigger the same thing in us wearing different clothing, a different shirt or skirt. So at some point, if we're lucky, we get to a stage where we're not willing to do that anymore. And in order to get to that space, we need to have this sort of bigger view of what are we here for? Like, what is the point of us incarnating? It's not to, work 9 to 5 and do the thing and get the 401k and whatnot. Yeah, that's part of what might be part of the role, but that's not what we're here for. And sometimes it can be when you're not looking at that stuff or you're not willing to look at that stuff, and plenty of people aren't. And you know what? That's okay. That's their trip. And sometimes people show up like that as a service for themselves. Yeah, they are going to, get there eventually. But for us, they show up as lessons. They show up as tough experiences. They play supporting roles in our life because we are ready. Because many times we've already incarnated and reincarnated with the same set of circumstances, and we still can't check the box. So then we come back and we learn it or have another opportunity to learn it again. And sometimes these roles of these unconscious people, maybe on the other side, are our best friends who are just gonna just show up as our abusive father or mothers or teachers or friends or whatever the scenario. They are performing a service. They're playing a role so that we can finally get it, so that we can finally check the box that we're here to check and graduate this life with honors. And there might be more than one box to check, especially if on the other side you chose some ambitious life where you wanted to learn this and you wanted to overcome that and you wanted to overcome this and that. But it does require you to have a bigger picture view on what you're here for, and to also remember memento mori. You are going to die. I'm going to die. We're all going to die. No one gets out of this alive. And so what's the point? While we're here, while we can be conscious, and we can't always be conscious, the most we can strive to do is to become conscious quicker after we've been kicked into unconsciousness, when we become non-lucid. And usually that happens when we are triggered. When we are triggered, when we are reactive, in the moment that the perfect combination comes up and our inner child protector comes in, or our not self-conditioning. I'll get into this in a second, but let me get through this slide real quick to get to the meat of the matter. So the pain of chasing temporary joys leads to more suffering because we're not able to make more progress. And I want to say something else real quick. Now is the time. Like, this kind of work is not going to be on the menu indefinitely. 2027 is less than 6 months away. And 2027, if you believe the mythology of what's going on, And if you believe that there are different cycles, we are going to be ending one cycle and entering another. And not only are we entering a different cycle, but a new part of humanity is going to become online, an awareness center, instead of just being, and I get this is not 101 for everyone, but bear with me. Maybe you'll understand more than you think. We have these different centers. These are centers. This one right here used to be just a motor, and now it's going to be conscious. And when it becomes conscious, we are going to have a different relationship with ourselves and each other because there's going to be information that's going to now be coming through, and for the beings that are going to be born in 2027 and onward. But we are going to be feeling motives a lot more, I would say. Intentions behind words are going to be really the message because that's going to be so loud. It starts there, like, and then you get to, okay, what are they trying to sell me or convince me of? But you're not going to get that far if the first thing that comes through is the intention. All of us are going to be broadcasting all of our skeletons, our unhealed stuff is going to be on display. That's why it's so important now to do this work so that you can have a head start because this is going to be destabilizing for a lot of people. And it's good to have a head start now. But that means that you're going to have to lift the rug on your own life and look at all the dust that you've been sweeping under there, all of the different ways that you've been chasing temporary joys to not look at it. Now it's about feeling life as it is now and being willing to be uncomfortable, cultivating more and more capacity to stay in your discomfort, to stay in your not knowing, to not have an answer, and simply be in somewhat of a state of surrender, like connecting with your higher power is a big one. And that higher power doesn't need to be religious, although for many it is, but it can be your highest self. It could be your heart, your guardian angels, your spirit guides, some higher force that knows more than you do, that can help. Knowing again that you chose this, it absolutely doesn't feel like you would choose to be molested as a child or choose what it's like to have parents that can't return your need for love or being cheated on or experiencing poverty or seeing your children hungry or all of the above. Why would anyone choose that? Well, the only way that it makes sense is if you believe in reincarnation and you believe that this is all part of a long sequence of events that is going to transcend time, that you have chosen this so that you can overcome it or that you can make your way through it. And it's not just for you. As I said before, it's for helping others. It's so that you can stand as this point of strength for the other. It's part of what you're here to be for others. And it requires you not to have, I mean, it's sad to say, and it's hard to say that when you're in a real depressed state, you're extremely selfish. And I don't mean it's like a self-centered where all you can see is your pain, and you can't see a point of it. And it goes back to I got to just escape it. Believe me. I mean, anyone who's experienced pain, and everyone has in their own way, understands that it's hard to see outside of the immediate pain. It can be impossible seeming. But at some point, you might get to a point where you recognize that the universe is conspiring in your favor. And there's blessings on the other side of the pain. And you can see that right now. If you were really to look closely and recognize where you are, you would understand in order to get where you are or to be ready for something that you were ready for, like a relationship. Well, maybe you're in a great relationship right now, but that same relationship you would not have been ready for 20 years ago. You would have been a mess. You wouldn't have been able to, maybe you get the relationship, but you couldn't keep it. There's a lot of experiences of this with, you hear this all the time with lottery winners, people who win millions and millions of dollars and then cut to 2 years later and they're broker than they were before they won the lottery. It's because that person's vessel in this work, you're here to develop yourself so that you can hold more light. And so when you're not getting, I'm jumping ahead, but when you're not getting that thing you think you want, or it's just things are not showing up, it's not about why not, why me, why am I being punished? It's about, okay, what in me am I not seeing? And seeing the universe in a benevolent way that the universe wants to give you these blessings. They're all around you. They're ready. But if you're not ready, it's not a blessing to give you that thing. Because A, it could destabilize you further. You could be worse than you were without it, or you couldn't sustain it. So there's like a saying, I don't want a shoe that's bigger than my foot. So part of the work that we're doing here is to look deeper into that inquiry, into what am I not seeing? Whether you're asking God, whether you're asking your highest self. I say highest. Some people say higher. In my opinion, tomorrow, if I learn something new, that's going to be my higher self because it's higher. It knows one technique more than me and might be that much further along, may not have the answer I'm looking for. I say highest because it's your complete self. Personally, that semantics matters to me. So the constant fight to avoid what you dislike, that's going to lead to more suffering. Facing experiences without fear or trying to escape fear with courage in the face of fear, the discomfort, to feeling the feelings that you've been trying to avoid so that you can get to the bottom of them, so that you can be happier, because you might be comfortable and not happy. This might provide you comfort, but it won't provide you happiness. And when you're real comfortable, it's harder to grow. It's harder to grow if you know you're in a job and you're super successful at what you do, high paying job, you're used to a certain amount of lifestyle, but it's killing you inside because it's meaningless. And you feel this calling, this deep calling, like from the deepest part of your heart and soul telling you, you can't keep doing this. And maybe it even starts out as a whisper. You can't keep doing this, but then you ignore it. And then it might be getting closer to a health crisis to stop you in your tracks because you're not listening. And it's like this early warning system, you get it first. And your soul is saying, look, remember, the bells are coming on. It's like, you're not going to, this is not forever. You're here for a finite period of time to get what you're here to get. This is your soul's curriculum. This is soul college. Pass the course. But when you're really good at what you do and you're used to a certain lifestyle, even you might want to do something more meaningful. You might even know exactly what it is that's been calling you. But there's some part of you that's like, how am I going to do that? I'm not going to start in the mailroom at 40, 50, 60 years old. How am I going to live a meaningful life when, I've have a mortgage, I have car payments, my kids are going to private school, whatever it is, there's going to be lots of reasons, lots of justifications, but you're going to have to figure that out for yourself while holding on to the big picture of memento mori. You are going to die. You are here. You are here now. Will you get it this time? Whether this is take two or take 242, will you get it? Your soul thinks you will. You're privy to more. Maybe you have more tools in this life than you were presented before, more opportunities, more stuff showing up in your feed like this, more little soul reminders. I got to get on this. Now, your mind is not necessarily going to be on board. But with human design, you learn your mind is not great for making decisions. Again, I encourage you to get your chart. It's free. It's pinned somewhere. I can't see any of the chats, so Raquel will be there for that. And thank you, Raquel. So what else? Continuing as is because you refuse to face reality. How many messages from your soul, from God, from source, from your heart, what are you ignoring because it's not convenient or it's just the worst timing? How many things have you put on the back burner that are getting louder? Can you build some inner peace? Can you learn to regulate your nervous system so that you stop bracing and you become more willing to be uncomfortable, more willing to explore this space because you can see the bigger picture. It goes well beyond right now. It's your entire timeline, which has an end at some point where we don't know when that is. And we never think about it. We all think we're promised 100 years at least or whatnot, and then we're surprised when someone dies at age 36. You don't know how much time you have. But you do want to check that box because you want to know what comes next and you want to get it. Finally, what it is that you're here to learn and evolve from. So, the unreliable narrator. We have this mind, right? And it's the protagonist. It speaks as us in our own head. Have you ever seen those movies? I forgot the one. It's called Innocence or something, and I don't know if I created a slide for it. But you watch these movies where you see you're watching the whole movie from the point of view of one person, and then it switches, and then you recognize that the whole narrative that you've been following is bullshit and you're seeing it from fresh eyes. There are things that you are not able to see because if you accept that your mind's point of view is the whole story, then you will be unable to move forward because your mind, as you learn in human design, is made up of a lot of bogus stuff. Your mind is basically the spokesperson for everything that is not you, that is coming into your field via conditioning or has been in your field through conditioning, and it's still running you, but it's not you. It's just where your mind gets its voice. And you learn in human design that what you actually are, what you are actually pumping out 24/7, transmitting, your mind does not care about at all. It doesn't show up as a voice in your head. It shows up as a voice in someone else's head, but not in yours. So it's a lot harder to know what's you because your relationship, it's not narrating at you. Now, passenger consciousness in human design is what is considered the proper place for your mind, more as a passenger, as a witness, rather than as a doer. It's more of a watcher, and it's participating, but not making the decisions. It's good for what's called outer authority. It's good for teaching others, for communicating. This is my mind right now communicating this for you. And then it would be your inner authority to know whether or not it's bullshit or not, or what part of it is meaningful to you and what part is not. That's your inner authority. Now, your mind has these two different settings, probably more, but in the case of human design, you have the setting of doer of this personality, that it's who you think you are and what who you think you're here to be and do and talk about, and that's what you have conscious access to. And then there's this uncomfortable bit, which is your design, which is your body, which is your nervous system dysregulation or regulation, which is your subconscious, which is running the show. As you've learned in psychology, your subconscious is like uh, most of the iceberg. The part of the iceberg that's above water, the conscious part, is really just a small fraction of what's running you. So passenger consciousness respects that. Passenger consciousness understands that it's not in charge, and it becomes more of a witness. It's not like you're always going to stay in that. Um, are there people who do? Sure. Is that like where you want to set your sights? No. Why? Because when you don't do that, you're more apt to go, oh, this is bullshit, and quit. Or your mind is going to try to talk you out or make you a villain or less than for having slipped up. And then it creates a story about what that meant about you, that you went unconscious and you said the thing to that person after so many years of being on the spiritual path, and then tear you a new one. And that's a whole nother rabbit hole. What you want is simply to get back to center quicker and quicker, to make those moments of being unconscious thinner and thinner, so that when you do go unconscious, the first thing in this work, which is adding a whole new level, the ZoCode work, I mean, there's other forms of this, but what we're doing is when you do become unconscious, aka reactive, something happened. In that moment is your potential to win the soul lottery. Because it's only then, when you're in that trigger, where you can make another choice. That is where what like your soul is watching with binoculars on those moments. And you need to have a nervous system that's regulated enough, not perfectly, but enough that you start becoming aware of, this is a moment. This is a moment where I can make another choice. And it ain't easy. And me talking about it now doesn't matter. If you prepping for it ahead of time is all mind candy. And it's kind of like saying you're going to quit smoking and then you get triggered and you grab a cigarette. It's very akin to that. It's like those moments where you don't grab a cigarette when you've been triggered like crazy and you want to, and everything is saying grab one, but there's a part of you that's conscious of, no, I need to ride this out so that I can be free of that. It's very much like that. It doesn't matter about planning what you're going to do when you get triggered. It only matters when you're triggered if you can do it. It's kind of like even martial arts. Like you practice self-defense, practicing all the time, and then a fight happens or something where you need to defend yourself, and then it's like all out the window. It doesn't help you in those moments. It only helps you when you can have enough nervous system regulation to calm yourself so that you can access your higher functioning. And it just takes a little bit. It doesn't take much. It's like a match in a room of darkness. Just a little match can light up a room. And all you need is a little bit. And sometimes that'll be enough, and sometimes it won't. Sometimes you'll have so much energy behind you in your justification or your righteous indignation that they deserve to have the wrath of you because they overstepped, and how dare they, and what an injustice. And there's a lot of energy behind that. But then you'll get a little bink, this is your moment. And sometimes you'll register that and you'll know, okay, I need to make another choice here. I have an opportunity. And sometimes it'll just be too powerful. And you'll know better, but you won't do better. And then you'll have another opportunity later. And hopefully that time you'll be able to recover, try to make a different choice. And in doing that, in making a different choice, you are growing your vessel. You are expanding your capacity to hold more light. Your soul wins in that exchange. And it's not that your soul loses necessarily when you don't do it, it just doesn't grow. And then you'll have another opportunity, and hopefully that you'll get it then. And if you don't, then you're stuck, and you've experienced that. It's hard because it requires you to look at yourself raw. Where am I in this situation? And sometimes you have to go back far. Sometimes it's not about getting it on an intellectual level. And you recognize that talk therapy will only get you so far. It needs to be embodied. Human design is a body system. You could be the smartest caterpillar in human design, and it could not change your life one lick because you are not, it's like the mind drafts your human design vocabulary and to be impressive, which is equivalent to faking doing push-ups at the gym. Like, what the F is the point of that? If you really want to have it change your life, then you need to recognize where you are and what is your motive here. If you truly want to change your life and you're stuck, it requires more of you. It requires you to take some of this armor off so you can change the soiled undergarments that are beneath it. These tattered, urine-soaked underwear that you've been wearing under your armor. And vulnerability is the new strength, especially going into 2027. Because what you do now is going to largely dictate what happens to you then and who you're going to be seeing of then, because everyone is going to get to see it in a much bigger way, way more spotlit. Now is go time. This ain't going to be on the menu for long on whatever you do, whether it's this work or whatever it is, whatever it needs to be, to start looking at the untidy bits inside you. So the core shift here is your perspective is not always reality. Your mind is going to have a perspective. Your mind is going to have a voice. It's going to narrate a situation. Do not go with that first narration. It's not going to be correct. And it's going to be based on a lot of flawed code. It's kind of like passenger consciousness is kind of like, imagine if you are sitting at a gate at an airport and you're just sitting there and you're waiting. You're waiting for your flight to be called and you're just sitting there and you don't have your phone, let's say, you don't have a book, and you're just kind of just sitting there watching people walking by. You're just watching. You're not engaging with them. You're just noticing some people are talking over there and some people are hurrying over there. And it's just more of just you're watching and it's sort of a calmer thing. Now, imagine if those people were thoughts. Okay, each one of those thoughts are hooks. So something arises vertically, a thought arises, and you can just notice it. And it might not be just a thought, it could be a feeling. It could be something is having a sensation, a chemical reaction, something. You can start to watch it. Don't try to perfect it, just try to notice a little bit more than you do now. Okay? Something arises, and rather than subscribing to it or lassoing it, you watch it. Maybe you'll be able to watch it for a little bit, or maybe it'll become compelling enough to where you actually bite the hook and now you're going horizontal. You're letting it take you somewhere. Maybe it's going to stop you from doing something that's aligned, or it's going to push you to do something that's not aligned. You have got to get better at you. That's it. Get you on a much deeper level. Understand through your human design, the map, where you're vulnerable to being blown off course. What are the telltale signs? What are the things to try to be more and more conscious of? In this work, I don't care how long you've been doing human design, you can never phone this in. You will always be checked. And those people who phone it in get spanked. It's just and you know what? It's worse for them. It's worse for you after you know your human design because you're responsible for what you know. And there's plenty of people who are selling stuff that they don't have themselves. You can't phone it in. You have to be aware that this is what your soul is here to do. Now, what happens is you will um, reach a point, you will evolve, you will pass the test, we'll say. You've learned something, you caught yourself, you made a different choice. Let's fast forward to whatever the thing is that's triggering you, where you're reactive, that gets your goat, wherever your buttons are, they're pushed, and you're in a situation and all the familiar players are there, the triggering agents, the pet peeves, and you did something different this time. You became aware of it. You made a different choice. It doesn't end there. Okay? It might happen a few more times. The universe has ways of constantly or regularly testing and retesting you. The things you say you get, the universe wants to know, do they really? Everything's going smoothly. Now let's test them again with the old shit and see if they bite the hook again. And if they do, well, maybe they haven't gotten there yet. And now we have to, go back a step. The universe will test you to make sure you do get what you claim to get. And then when you get there and you pass, then you get to a new level and you'll be tested with new shit. There'll be a new threshold guardian, a new set of things to become aware of. Life is a journey. Just get to the next save point. Get to the next save point. May it be graceful. May it be graceful. May it be something that you can sustain. You don't want to ask for more than you can sustain and stabilize within. You don't, you want to move at the rate that you can sustain it, that you can stabilize, that you can become aware of when you're off and more quickly. All right. Something happens to you, something in this movie, and the inner narrator begins producing the movie. Okay? It's going to activate the chemicals. Once again, something is going to get triggered, which you think is just about this moment, but it isn't. It's about probably a lot to do with your core wound, your primary wound, your cocoon in this work. And so it starts with your soul, chooses a life. You get into this life, your human design. Your body is chosen. Your mind is there. Your mind is like a dumbed down avatar of your immortal soul, disconnected, thinks it's in charge. It's actually the part that goes on, but nonetheless, in the life, you chose this body. This body has certain vulnerabilities through your undefined centers. It is the perfect vehicle to bring you the lessons that you chose to learn. Perfect. It's designed for you to fulfill your soul's curriculum. So knowing your human design is helpful in making sure that you are on the correct path and that you're really, even more than that, getting the correct lessons that and you're not, over here dealing with lessons that are not part of what you chose to learn or delaying you from getting what you're here to get and progressing. So something happens, the inner narrator begins producing the movie. The core wound, which I talked about earlier, which is the archetypes that we're talking about in the Awakening Kit, which is the assessment, the Zoe assessment, which is the ZoCode onboarding emissary. That's the 45-minute questions that you are going to be vulnerable and answering so that you can get a correct designation. And then the book, which helps you find yourself, it'll blow you away. And then if you get the whole bundle, it includes a workbook that's very beneficial. If you want to get that later, we sell it separately, but there's a bundle discount. This is not expensive. I mean, if this is something that is aligned and you're getting a yes, get it. Or let your mind talk you out of it, and you'll have another opportunity later in some form or another. You will have plenty of opportunities to get this. You can choose whether you want to get it earlier and change your life, and check a box. And I'm not saying by ordering this is what's guaranteed. I'm just saying in general, doing this work now means that you'll be further along then. And if, it's like stoke out your future self. Do something future you cannot be counted on doing. The only thing that you can change is right now. And whenever you kick the can down the road and say, oh, I'll do it then, that ain't you anymore. The only you there is right now that can do anything is now you. Now you is the only one. Future you cannot be trusted. Future you is going to be run by a whole nother set of circumstances and priorities that is not going to follow past you. Okay? So the only way to get something done is for you to do it now. And it's a loving thing for you to do for future you, in the same way that when you pick out your clothes the next day so that future you has more time and doesn't have to go through what you're going to wear tomorrow for the whatever it is. It's like that. It's like doing something nice for future you by choosing now, because future you is unreliable. So that's what I mean by the core wound, as far as the archetype's concerned, the primary wound that you incarnated with to get through, that your previous lifetime didn't check that box. Now you're back again. Same type of thing, different circumstances, different clothing. Fingers crossed that you're going to get it this time so you can graduate this life with honors and move on to the next thing, finally. But there's also this other aspect, and this part I'm going to go into the next time we meet, which I don't remember offhand when that is, but during this 11-day period. And the protector is that part of you that when you were a child created a strategy to help protect you from whatever that thing was. Here's an analogy for that. This one I learned from my chief hypnotherapy instructor. There was a woman who had insomnia. She's like 40, 45, and came to him, and she had really bad insomnia, no matter what she did. She was regressed back, and it turned out that when she was 12 years old, she would sleep with one eye open because her stepfather would creep into her room. And she knew that she needed to stay vigilant during that time. That was a strategy that worked for then. Now, fast forward to her now in her 40s, she's a second-degree black belt. She has knives and guns, and no one's going to screw with her if they know what's good for them. This woman can protect herself, but there's that part of her that's still protecting that 12-year-old. And it's still like a dutiful soldier running the show. And despite what the adult self is trying to do and is safe and recognizes that, there's a part of her that's not on board, not involved in the conversation. That's what I mean by protector. So when you feel or experience self-sabotage, there are aspects that we'll go into in another the next thing, like I said, that need to be looked at, including hidden gains from staying smaller. There's also the not self. These are the conditioning that the conditioning and of other people's energy that enters us and is either an amplification of their stuff, which is not us, or an amplification and a distortion, which we adopt as ourselves, as our stuff, which is also the source of psychic information. But that, we can be very psychic, but if we think it's all us, we're not psychic. That psychic awareness is not active, and it doesn't show up as fully formed superpowers right out the gate. And the more psychic we are, like if it's a totally open center, is the hardest to wrangle. These are the hardest lessons of where we're here to get wise in life before we reach a point where we are able to recognize where we end and they begin. And then we can become very psychic. It's still an amplification, though, in those cases of the open center. So it's not like you're getting a true clean read of them. You're getting like a louder version of their source material. And then with wisdom, you learn to turn the dimmer switch down to arrive closer to what they're pumping out. Passenger consciousness is a big part of all of this. It questions whether the first interpretation is the whole story. Questions it. Again, this is difficult, and all you need is a microsecond. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like in that microsecond of awareness is a lifetime. And sometimes it'll be tardy and you'll have said the thing or did the thing, but you then can be conscious and apologize if you need to, or shut the F up if you need to, and recalibrate and be like, and breathe and regulate. And it will take a lot of that. It'll take repetition of that. It's like building a muscle, and every time you do it and you make it important, you're communicating to your subconscious that it's important to you, that it's something that you want to become aware of more. There's lots of different examples of that. I don't know if some of you know how to lucid dream. Some of you could do it naturally. Some of you learned how to do it. And in order to learn how to lucid dream, become consciously aware that you're dreaming, you had to practice what's called reality tests. You had to do certain behaviors that you would do in life that eventually in the dream realm, because of habit, you would naturally do there. And that's how you were communicating to your subconscious, I want to become more aware of my dreams. And so you were slowly, as long as you kept earnestly doing this, or else it just fades into the background. And it's like your mind and your subconscious is a great economizer, as is your body, of energy. And if you're not interested, it's not going to give it to you. So when you're triggered and you get that this is your moment, what it's doing is it's giving you access to this video. And I almost say this like movie that's unfolding. It's almost like you're a character in a book and you pull out. I don't know if you've ever had this sensation. It's a trip. Um, and maybe you've had it, maybe you have it regularly, maybe you're further along than I am in this, but it's a miracle, it's a blessing when you're given this opportunity. You're triggered, okay? Something happens. Maybe it's a fight, an argument with a loved one. And there'll be a moment where you get a glimpse, like a 30,000-foot glimpse out, and it's almost like you're seeing your lines as if they were scripted. Like they say the offending thing, and you can feel you're about to say, and it's almost like you're reading the script. Oh, I'm gonna say this, and then they're gonna react this way, and then I'm gonna say this, and now I'm heading this way. And it's almost like a choose your own adventure where you pull out, you see the lines that they've been scripted for you, and you decide not to say the lines. Wow, the power that is powerful, especially because you're it's a triggering moment. This is not, all the situations I'm talking about are where everything you are on go. All parts of you are justified in putting them on blast. And with all that energy behind you, you still have this microsecond, but time seems to like expand from there, where it's like invitation. It's like you get this like bink save point opportunity pops up, whether or not you go through it or not, because you couldn't do it or you do it. That is where the money is. That is the only place where your soul can grow. That is the only place that your vessel will expand, where the light is available. And it's unique for each one of us where that place is. It's you overcoming you. But in order to overcome you, you need to know you on more than the surface level, or you're going to be looping for a while. So I just want to ask Raquel if there are any chats or anything, any comments that were mentioned. Raquel, if you're there.
Yeah, there was one comment if you want me to read. There's been comments. I want to say hi to everybody here.
Yeah, yeah.
Vicky said that's why she got a puppy. Kirsten said she appreciates your semantics, Davidian. Cynthia Kerr had a great comment as a manifester. She said, this resonates with me. I've looked at this and have really worked to do just what Davidian said.
Hmm.
It is a process, but how freeing. And I think she was directly speaking of like being triggered and in the moment and going through the transformation. So,
It's powerful. Yeah, it really
yeah.
is. Your strength grows when you're able to overcome yourself in that way. The blame and the shame are not going to get you to the promised land. These are distractions. So blame says they are the reason my life is this way. Shame says I'm the reason my life is this way. And passenger consciousness asks, what is this showing me that I couldn't see before? Why am I having this reaction again? Why am I being passed over for the promotion again? What a blessing. It's reorienting you. Your default setting might be reactivity. When this happens, it's my pet peeve, or when I'm disrespected, I put someone on blast, or I react and I say the thing or I do the thing, and then you know, there's consequences for you too. But instead, what this work does is it treats these reactive moments as blessings. And again, going back to 2027, when all of your shit is going to be on full display for everyone else, it is a blessing right now. It is a blessing right now to see where you're triggered, to see where, oh, I thought I worked on this in therapy. Oh, I thought I, reached a certain understanding. I'm surprised I'm having this reaction. There's obviously more in here for me to look at. Is the proper place? Is the proper frame for that? Which is the default. The new default setting is, oh, good. There's a new part of me that is revealing a place where I need to give some attention to because it's been hidden somewhere in my nooks and crannies. And now is my opportunity to address it rather than going back to not looking at it, chasing the joys, shoving it down further to where it's just gonna, it's just gonna feed into your shadow. And the shadow is gonna come out in a smart way, or it tends to come out in a dumb way when you shove it down all the time and you just have these outbursts and start like being a bull in a china shop and creating a difficult life for yourself. You want to see what you weren't able to see before. You want to hesitate in ascribing meaning to a particular event right away. Like, oh, I'm pissed because of something they said or did to me. That could be true, but that's not the whole story because it's it's like a groove in a record and it's a pattern that you may not be conscious of that keeps repeating. And in order to have a new song play on the jukebox, you're going to have to look at what it is that keeps what you're not seeing and being patient with yourself, being loving through this process, being vulnerable, being willing to not know, to live in the mystery a little bit longer, to grow your capacity to regulate your nervous system, which means that you need to grow your capacity to be uncomfortable and to maybe feel a little bit exposed in order to get on the other side of it and change your life and be done with it and, you know, deal with the next thing. Seeing the pattern does create a new save point, but you can't make it past there until you actually make a new choice. So but seeing the pattern, getting to that same point, even if you can't do better, just being able to be aware of it. Awareness is everything. It's like finally seeing, oh, there's something here. There's material here. And you're able to see your pattern. Maybe you're not able to make a new choice yet, but you've now seen it. And now you will not be able to help from seeing it the next time it happens. And the next time it happens, hopefully you'll have a little bit more capacity to do something about it. Maybe you won't, but you'll see it again. And you'll have another opportunity, and another, and another, and another. The lesson isn't over just simply because you have the insight. It's just now going to show up on the menu. It's going to show up as a possibility. Remember, we're only talking about the times that you are triggered off your ass. Okay. It doesn't matter to make a choice when everything is like perfect. That's not reactive. That's not the moment I'm talking about. I'm talking about the moment where you are triggered, where your buttons are pushed. That is the moment. And it's only there in that moment where you make another choice that your life has a new possibility, that that's where the portal appears to a more empowered timeline, starting from that point. Starting that from that point, what is the best my life can be? Starting from now, if I make the next best decision, where am I going to be? You make that new choice, boom, you're now at that new timeline. Could you go backwards? Of course. Could you stay on that one? Yes, for a long time, as long, as you have on this one. But then it makes more possible. It gives you a new outlook on why you're here and what to do with the finite period of time that you are here. And when you start clocking the same hook returning in a different shirt or skirt, a new response becomes available, and so does a new future, a new possibility. And this is something that you can start asking yourself right now. Where do I now recognize the hook before it becomes the whole movie? What in your life are you now starting to recognize? Whenever I go over to my dad's house and he yells at me, it reaches deep into my core and goes right to my inner child who had no power. And I'm not going to let that happen to me again. And that protector comes out and yells back. I know that. It's a pattern. So I'm aware of it. I can't always do something. Sometimes that energy, being in that assault, that frequency assault, just seems to just bust through any tool I have. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes, because I'm aware of it, I can prepare for it a little bit better. I don't just walk into a situation blind. I know that, okay, I'm entering an environment that is often hostile.
I had a
You,
question if you would
oh
like
yeah, yeah, please.
from Sean.
Yeah.
Sean says, I can see shadow behaviors real time now at times on the pickleball court. Folks get amped up. Their younger, competitive, bully, or insecure selves start to appear over 15 minutes. Sometimes I feel like I'm on TV. Too real resonance is way off. You can feel it, see it. It's unreal, often amplified on mushrooms. And then he
As is
says,
everything.
that's right, exactly. That's a good way to amplify things. And then he says, what do you think happens for folks that aren't doing the work now in 2027? Do they benefit from the 100th monkey effect? Ha ha ha. I doubt it, Sean. Okay. But if so, hardly seems worth going through it now at times. If they just shrug and move on as well, I'm growing exhausted, carrying more than my energetic share of consciousness, kindness in many circles. It's a great
Right.
question.
Okay, so there's a lot of things there, and I'm not
Yeah.
going to answer them all because I'm going to forget most of them. But um, first of all, it doesn't matter what anyone else does. It's all for you. It's 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 part of your curriculum to either deal with them or not, but by dealing with them, it's showing in you what you need to work on based on your reactivity. So it's actually a service that they're performing, and it's a blessing because the more you're able to, uh, in that reactivity moment, make a different choice, you grow. It's like these are like different lottery wins in the form of unconscious NPC people that show up, are presenting you with lottery win opportunities. So if you can see it like that, like, oh, good, an asshole, like that sort of thing, not another asshole, because every time, and it has to be the right jerk, because if you're reactive and then you make a different choice, that's the good stuff. So it becomes a blessing. And it's a bigger picture view. I mean, of course, if you're, really in your stuff, which is what you're going to be, it's more apt to have the blinders on where you can't see anything except for the offending thing. And with the practice, you're pulling out so that you can see the point, the purpose, the script that's been written. You can see more. The guru who lives as an ascetic in the cave on the hill is not, that's timing out the clock. I'm just going to sit in a cave in the hill and I'm not going to be triggered by anything, and it's just going to be nature and it's going to be perfect, is a lot different from the guru, quote unquote, who goes down to the triggering masses and are with the ignorant masses and weathers that storm. That's two different things. So but there is something to be said also about following your strategy and authority, so you're not in the wrong environment and being triggered by people that you should not have even been exposed to in the first place, because you're on the wrong spot on the chessboard because you weren't following your strategy and authority. So that plays a part, but these things work together. So you can't expect anyone else to change. The only person who can change is you. Now you. Future you can't do shit because future you can't be counted on. The only person who can make something different is now you. Now you is making all the choices, and future now you is going to make that choice. That is not going to be based on this you necessarily. I mean, they may share some things in common, but they can't be counted on. It's now you. Now you has the full responsibility to do it. If that makes sense. So when it comes time to seeing everybody in real time lose their shit, the most you can do is have compassion for them and compassion for you and see their bigger picture, see their soul's trajectory. It's kind of like you got to pull out a little bit. You're not always going to be able to do it. This is not something that I can do all the time. This is something I'm able to do more and more because I'm earnest about wanting to. I'm earnest about making it important to do it. It's not about me faking it. It's not about me just talking about it. I want this and I'm still working on it. And I'm further along than a lot of you, and I'm not as far as many of you. Don't wait till you're perfect before you help others. You're further along than a lot of people are. And there's only some people are only going to be able to hear it from you. You could be saying the same thing that, Tom, Dick, and Harry said, but then when you say it, it finally lands because these are your people. They're on your fractal. That's who you're here to be with and help and serve and ally with. And I hope you're a part of my fractal. Whether you're a client, a friend, an ally, a teacher, I'm here for it. But don't wait till you're like some sort of finished good before you serve others. Right now, based on all the shit you've gone through, you can serve those people who are going through that same shit. You can authentically hold space for them. And that is powerful. And you earned that. The hard way. It wasn't for you, that pain. It was for them. Don't make it about you. Empower yourself by knowing that, yes, it was hard. That was your soul's boot camp to make sure that you were able to serve in the way that your soul came here to serve. All of this is kind of like a new way of seeing things that you've always seen, but there's like a default seeing that gets in the way, that's informed by pain, and it's informed by a mind that masquerades as the only way to see something, and it's flawed. It's good for stuff. I'm not going to make the mind bad. It's good for dreaming and sharing a point of view, but it doesn't, it's not tied to divine providence. It's not tied to your whole entire timeline and your soul's trajectory. And it's informed by pain and other people's stuff and a whole variety of things that aren't lucid or clear. It's a dirty lens. It's good for stuff, but it's definitely shouldn't be driving. So, I have plenty of more to share, but I feel like this is going to be like an all-nighter if I don't like call it here maybe, but let's do one more thing. The itch at the threshold. Feeling the hook's itch without scratching it. And you're going to have that I call it the devil and angel on your shoulder, or it's called that, but I don't refer to it that way. But you have the one thing, like when you're triggered, you have the moment where the things like say the thing, do the thing, you're justified. How dare they? They did that once again. They disrespected you, and once again, this is what happens, and I'm not going to let that happen to me. I'm not going to be shamed anymore. Whatever the story is, whatever the narration is, there's this seductive, like, power behind your reaction. And the default setting is you're just going to put them on blast. The default setting is, or you're going to retreat into yourself and create a story. And it's either going to be aggressive or repressive. Near every threshold, something is going to urge us to react. I mentioned that you get to this place and you have like a threshold guardian in the the hero's journey sort of sense. There's something for you to overcome, and before you can make progress, there's something blocking the doorway to your next stage of consciousness or evolution. And you're going to be tested and retested to make sure you know what you know. But there is going to always be in these stages, in these places, you are going to be tested, and something is going to urge you to react. And the old consciousness, that default setting, checks whether it still has access to the controls. Your mind knows exactly where all your buttons are. It knows exactly the perfect feast of information and chemicals to take you there and where you have that choice. And your passenger consciousness grows through your ability to pause inside that itch, inside that trigger. That's what grows your awareness, your ability to withstand that. It's the muscle that gets flexed. It's your nervous system that becomes more regulated. And the more regulated, the more you choose you and your soul's growth in those moments, the more regulated your nervous system. So when that same triggering thing happens, you're not biting the hook right away. You're building space between stimuli and response. It's not one and the same. It's not one action. Stimuli response, which is what it starts out. So then it becomes space. Stimuli, fuck them, pardon me, uh, do the thing, say the thing, or not. But here's the thing, the devil angel on the shoulder experience. So you have the part on your shoulder that's like, you get in the triggered moment, and it's like, say the thing, do the thing, say the thing, do the thing. You deserve it. They deserve it. Then you say the thing, and then it switched sides to, I can't believe you did that. You knew better. You didn't do it. I can't believe, what a loser. It plays both roles. It's like cops and robbers. It goads you, do the thing, say the thing, you're justified. And then it's like, you call yourself spiritual, you should have, both of those things are wrong. So when you do the say, let's say you have a weak moment and you knew better, but you didn't do better. It's about not going down that road with the shame and letting your mind create another story about what that meant about you. Yes, apologize if you need to for saying the thing or whatever it is, but it's like you pick yourself up and you recalibrate, and you're like, that's it. You find your center again and you recalibrate. And that doesn't get to happen again. And you'll be presented with another opportunity. Hopefully that is not going to happen again. Or you're going to make a new choice.
This might be a good wrap up point because we're over. You've done about 90 minutes, and there's a lot of great information. Everybody said they got a lot out of it.
Oh, good.
And hey, Brenda. Brenda's made some um, comments about great discovery to find out that the mind is best not used to be the driver. Yeah. Gotta
Beautiful.
pause. I will get this. LOL. Just lost it right before coming on here. Family uproar. Yes, recalibrate for beating myself up. It happens, Brenda. It
Yeah.
happens. Family
It'll,
uproar. That's the perfect opportunity right now that you just had the experience. I will just let everybody know a little bit about what we have coming up.
yeah, please.
So much, Davidian. Thank you. Thank you, Kirsten. Thank you all guys for being here live. We're so happy that you're here. So we have a couple more events. We'd love for you guys to join us on Thursday. We're going to go live on Instagram at 333. And if you want to keep up with the rest, just grab your free awakening toolkit and then you'll be on the email list and we'll make sure to inform you. And please don't forget to buy the frigging awesome ZoCode archetype. If you don't know your ZoCode archetype, you're gonna want to know it. I'll talk about that on Thursday. What the archetypes are is when you merge human design with the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life, you create something that's not in either. And that's what we're presenting with the ZoCode archetypes. It is going to blow your mind. It's really, really fascinating, really interesting. We really recommend you guys get it for the rest of the training because you'll learn so much more.
Kabbalah is no stranger to human design, and we are excavating a little bit more of it. All right. Well, I hope that serves you well. Blessings galore and good journey.